Welcome, everybody, to the Frickin' Laser Beams podcast. That's FLB podcast at Twitter. Somebody out there, get a hold of us, please.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. All right, so again, this week, another edition. This is episode 4, coming at you on July 29th. We're going to talk about some video game news. We've got our game of the week locked and loaded. Mr. Wetbridge is going to be coming at you with that a little later on.
And we're doing a new format of the game of the week this week, too, so stick with us and see if it's better or worse.
Yeah, those are, or about the same. That's pretty much the three outcomes
That's like
that we could get.
The Mitch Hedberg joke. People either liked us, or they hated us, or they thought we were okay.
More or less. Okay, so as always, I'm Phil from Philadelphia. We've got with me today the Richard Simmons fan club vice president, Mr. Wetbridge.
Yeah.
How are you today?
I'm a little upset over losing that election and getting that vice presidency, but, I'm happy to have been in the race at all.
Little known fact, the president of the Richard Simmons fan club is Richard Simmons.
Oh, I did not know that. Then I'm okay with losing.
How did you not know? Actually, I'm lying. I have no idea about any of this.
Damn it.
Okay, so anyway, let's start out with something at least I find pretty interesting because it's going to kind of dictate the future of the home console, or at least it could. It could be an abject failure. Who knows? But so a little bit more, more information has been kind of getting out there about Microsoft's approach for the next generation, which I think everybody is actually pretty excited. Excited is maybe not the right word, but at least interested in, because they are sitting in a place where most people in the gaming space feel that they need to catch up with the obvious leader in that space, which is Sony currently. Although, from my understanding, the Xbox division is still doing quite fine, so they're probably not looking at that division as a failure anyway.
And it is Microsoft,
But anyway.
They're kept afloat by hundreds of things they do.
Sure. So this information is coming from a guy named Brad Sams, who is a well-reputed Microsoft journalist.
A man of two first names.
Yes, and he has been very reliable in the past. So this is sort of just kind of backing up some of the things that we've heard before. So there will be a traditional console, pretty much just like we're dealing with right now. They've both companies, Microsoft and Sony, have been pretty clear that they don't want to just eliminate the current model of console going forward. But they've also really, they just recently started throwing this idea around of having a cheaper, lower cost, internet required streaming box as well. So it would be like a complement to the family. So you obviously would need to live in a place that has a pretty decent internet connection. But let's say you're one of those lucky people with Google Fiber or something, and if this box, whereas a traditional console is going to cost you around $400 to $500, if this costs somewhere around $100, maybe $150 at the max, would you consider going that route?
Would I buy it instead? Probably not. But I know a lot of people who, being our age, in our 30s, we know a lot of people that are have families and stuff. I have multiple friends that have a lot of multiple kids and wives. So they have that, and we're coming to the generation where it's not just males or younger males or gamers anymore. So people are growing up, and it's more of a family thing. So sometimes people have multiple consoles for their kids and stuff. So I could see this even being something as supplementary. I know plenty of people that own 2 or 3 Xboxes, which is crazy, I think. But having multiple consoles, it could be something where somebody gets one regular console and then gets the other ones to supplement maybe the other family members.
That would be kind of an interesting thing, because you would almost feel like you'd almost imagine that this type of box might suffer in a family environment. So you're playing Cyberpunk and you're like, oh my god, my Cyberpunk looks like shit. Maybe like someone in the house is torrenting a movie or doing other illicit things that is hogging the internet. Like Steam starts to update, which is notoriously like, bandwidth hungry. It just maxes that shit out.
It'll be an interesting thing to see, like how it does it. If it's like a straight stream or like a like maybe it uses like a temporary download type of thing.
Well, so the new information that came out of this is actually that they will have some local processing power. It's not going to be a ton, but in order to combat the fears of like lag between, so like how the controls will feel laggy or the responsiveness of the games will feel laggy because of the internet connection, it will actually do some of like the physics calculations and local to the device. So like this isn't going to be a Steam link, which is $5 now, right? So it's going to have something behind it. It's still going to be $100 or more most likely because it is going to have to do some local computation.
Yeah.
But supposedly, like, that is the key. Like, that's this big secret, like the secret weapon, the secret sauce to making this type of box work.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting because it's like they put things that are more static, like, like your environments and stuff, things that don't really change, that lag's not really going to affect things that aren't moving. That this could be something that would work really well, but the logistics of that are probably pretty crazy. So I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see how it's done.
Yeah, I mean, it is all down to them getting it right. But can you imagine if they really did like blow out the offerings that they have with this Game Pass and they say, hey, for $100 or maybe like there's a $150 bundle that gets you a year of Game Pass and you've got like this pretty cheap cloud box, quote unquote, that runs every single game that the big adult Xbox runs too. Like there's not going to be a game that comes out and only runs on like the full powered one, right? Yeah, so
still, they have to have some sort of incentive to sell the full powered one. You know what I mean? At the same time.
That's the incentive does not require the internet and does not require over internet streaming.
Yeah,
I would assume
like, that's one of the things like I'm kind of curious about. Like, will they make it so that it's how good will it be? Like, will it be as good as they can make it, or will they intentionally maybe limit it a little bit so that the other ones still sell? You know what I mean?
So you're saying like, well, in which way? I suppose is my question. So the cloud box could technically have way more computing power behind it in some server farm somewhere. And if they can really get this right, then you might actually have a higher fidelity coming through the cloud box because you've got like this massive computer running the game rather than a local $400, $500 box that can't really come close to that same level of power.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. That just seems... although Microsoft has been known to not give a crap about losing money when it comes to gaming before. Selling
it would be a really wild... Yeah. But it would be a wild situation where the cloud box, assuming that this works, and in theory it actually is delivering a pretty decent experience, that every game that comes out and you play on that cloud box is like running at absolute maximum settings.
That would be pretty crazy. Like, it'll be interesting to see. Like, this is one of those things where I'm intrigued, but I will definitely wait and see. I'm not going to get too hyped about it now.
Get hyped, man. It's only years away.
You are the notorious hype machine. You get so hyped that
come on,
you're just inevitably let down in the end. And I just come in
that is true.
Low expectations. So even if it sucks, I'm like, hey, this could be worse.
I kind of still am with you. Like, if I had to choose one way or the other right off the bat, I would probably go with the more traditional style. Or if I'm feeling like an idiot, which I'm often feeling like,
You do?
maybe I would buy both if it was really just an extra $100.
Yeah.
I would
Put, like,
much
one in the
rather have
bedroom.
some. Well, I don't have a TV in my bedroom, but I would much rather have like something to experiment around with like that than the tacked on Kinect that I never really used.
Oh man, I use the Kinect constantly.
Constantly for what?
That's how I turned on my Xbox and my TV, and how I would change my channels. Like I literally did everything. I'd be like, Xbox, play Destiny 2 or Destiny because we played the first Destiny on there. I would literally control everything with the Kinect. It was awesome.
It's just it's a cool convenience, but is it a $100 convenience?
I don't know. You could only get the Xbox with it when I had it, so.
Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But like, even did you know that washers and dryers have Wi-Fi now?
I did not. So like you can tell when your shit's done? That is amazing.
I guess, man.
If that's that's amazing.
Come on.
Like, my laundry's done. I better go get it out before it wrinkles.
That is no. You set a freaking timer. What the hell?
Nah.
We don't need to Wi-Fi connect everything in our lives. We're just trying to simplify the simplest of things. All this nonsense about opening the banana the other way. Oh my god, opening a banana is super effing hard as it is, right? Okay.
I'm one of those people who opens the banana the other way.
Come on, whatever.
I've been doing it for years, man. It gives
gonna go there.
It gives you a handle, bro.
All I'm saying is that you're taking something incredibly easy and, if anything, wasting everyone's time explaining how it could be slightly easier.
I just eat bananas the way monkeys do, okay? Moving on.
It's a pet peeve. Pet peeve. It's not hard to open a banana. Okay. Settled. All right. Sorry. I lost myself there. Wi-Fi connected dryers.
Who are you?
And opposite-ended bananas. It's gonna give me a heart attack sooner or later.
Who you judge?
All right.
My difficulty in opening bananas. Us.
Yeah, maybe for someone out there, I apologize if opening a banana is difficult for some reason. I apologize to you. Wetbridge, you are not one of those people.
You're right, I'm not. But still.
All right. Okay, so we've got a couple quickies, so I'm going to throw it out there.
I love quickies.
The hottest take. The absolute hottest. Ready?
Yes.
All right, Dungeons and Dragons. It's getting a Magic the Gathering crossover. Are you excited? Is it 1997?
No, it's not 1997. I'm kind of excited, but I would be excited more if I actually played D&D. Like, I love the world of Magic. D&D is pretty cool. I've played a couple times. But, like, if I could find some people to play, it'd be pretty sweet.
Do you actively play Magic?
No. But I actively keep an interest in it. Like, I'm subscribed to Star City Games and Wizards Magic channel on Twitch. So I still watch it every once in a while.
Right, so this whole thing kind of makes sense because they're both owned by the same company.
Yeah, they're both WOTC.
They did choose Ravnica, which is pretty interesting. So Ravnica is reasonably old at this point. I'm not exactly sure what the date of the original Ravnica set was. But for people that have kind of been out of Magic for a good long time, like me, I've probably been out for about 9 years or so. I still know of Ravnica, so maybe choosing something that a good bit of a good swath of people, because they revisited Ravnica, right? So
yes, they've been back.
A really good player base of people know of that universe. Like, it would have been a little bit different, although not choosing Dominaria is maybe sort of weird.
So, see, the big thing for me is Dominaria is maybe a little too old at this point, because
aren't they back in Dominaria right now?
Well, yeah, they are, it's kind of a renaissance. But I mean, Ravnica is like most of your players now. That's the peak of the story that they know. You know what I mean? Like most of their core player base, I would say now. Whereas Dominaria is kind of like an homage to like the older players and trying to reintroduce some of those older things back into the newer players. So I feel like Ravnica is probably the two settings would obviously have been either Ravnica or Dominaria. So, Ravnica
sounds like
fine.
we need to get some people together and play some D&D.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's in November, so
maybe if we should.
Our
should
one
YouTube
fan,
it,
we
man.
got one, like
Put it on
the
the
first
YouTube.
person. Nope, first person to @FLB podcast. That it's them.
All right, yeah, let's do it.
Flying them in at Wet Bridges expense.
No.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Okay, no promises. All right, Fallout 76. It's getting a beta. Can we quote unquote beta? I mean, it's the break it early test application or whatever they're calling it.
It's beta.
It's really close to the launch of Fallout 76, so it really is like a break it server test type of thing. This isn't a beta in the traditional sense. It's coming eventually, October.
It's good to hear.
You care?
Take me home, country roads. Let's go.
All right, so you don't care?
No, I do care. Take me home,
care?
country roads. Yeah.
Would you participate in the beta? Is it worth your time to assist them in breaking like the server, like testing server load?
I mean, yeah, I might give it a try. It lets me see the game, see if I want to purchase it, and helps them test. I like helping. I like the server load things because it helps. I like helping. So yeah,
you like helping?
I'm a fan of the traditional
here's the
beta
help.
tests, and this is
Helpful little man.
feels like that.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean it is kind of outside of it. It's a beta test of the servers, I guess, but like you wouldn't call it a beta test of the game.
Yeah. Well, and being from West Virginia, Fallout is gonna. I'm more inclined to buy this Fallout than any other one, so I might give it a try.
Sure. Okay, so another hot take. Ready?
Yeah.
Destiny 2. In the new expansion, they're going to lower the time to kill. In multiplayer, PvP, are you excited?
I'm fine with it. Sounds good. Destiny.
Do you care?
Do I care? A little bit. I mean, I play PvP like in Destiny. Like when we play, we usually hit at least up a few PvP rounds, and it's fun. Like, so lower TTK is good because
Time to kill for people. Did I say time to kill?
You did say
I don't
time to
remember.
kill already.
Okay.
A lower one will help. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm bad at games like Halo, but I'm good at SWAT because there's a lower time to kill.
I guess you did talk about that last week, right?
Yeah, a lower time to kill I'm always down for. So.
Yeah, so, I mean, but we've not really been playing Destiny 2's PvP for a good while now, and is this really a thing that would bring you back? Like, is this the problem
No.
with Destiny 2 PvP?
Forsaken's probably going to bring me back anyways, so it's just an aside. I'll probably check it out and see how it feels. If it feels better, I may play it more.
Okay, so you're saying, like, a positive change in your mind all around?
Yeah, I'd say it's positive.
I honestly, people complained endlessly when Destiny 2 came out about how reliant on team shooting it was.
Yeah.
I never really viewed that as a negative, so maybe I'm one of the people that is just, like, super neutral on this change.
Yeah.
I don't know.
As an aside, I did see there are going to be pants that reflect rockets.
Well, yes, so, like, when you slide, like, a force field comes and, like, forms in front of you, and it can reflect projectiles. So, now that you mention that, they did put out a trailer that detailed a lot of, like, their upcoming exotic weapons.
Yeah.
And it's like they finally figured out that these weapons maybe should be fun.
Maybe less good and more unique and like just fun to do with. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's sort of a little bit of both. Like, yes, more unique, I think, is the best way to put it. So you've got like a bow that when you're aiming down sight, I guess, of a bow, that still makes sense.
Yeah.
So you can like see through
all walls and shit. Yeah.
In some fashion. It's not like perfect vision through walls, but like you can kind of sense where people are behind walls, which is really cool. I feel like they've dabbled in some of this before, where they made like the fusion rifles that will like stick to people and then explode, or the one that I think it might have been a grenade launcher or something that shot out like the little spider dudes, and
the laser beam thing. Remember a laser beam? That's the last time we really played Destiny a lot.
The Prometheus lens?
The fusion rifle that was a laser beam. That was great.
So, I mean, there's been, like, some stuff like that. Well, whatever. Regardless of the classification of these weapons. But there have been a few things in the past that seem to really latch on to that uniqueness. And now it really seems like they're finally playing around with some of these weapons.
A lot of people are thinking that Forsaken is going to be the Taken King of Destiny 2.
Which, I mean, sure, and that's cool and everything, but I do feel like, are we all insane for repeating this stupid cycle again?
Maybe.
Meh. You're just like, eh.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's okay.
We'll see.
We'll give Bungie all the second tries that they need.
Maybe they'll get it right eventually.
Yeah, they're big enough, so they've got to, like, it's Monkey on a typewriter, right?
I wouldn't go
unfair.
that far. Yeah, that's kind of being dickish about it, but yeah, sure.
No, they just seem to come up short in some fashion every time. I do enjoy
at least
the games that they put out in some fashion, so that is being overly harsh for
at
sure.
At least they take the steps to, kind of correct the shortcomings instead of being like the company's like, well, we fucked up. Oops. Let's make a new one. At least
I don't know
at least Bungie kind of tries to make steps to make the game better.
They kind of did that with Destiny 2, though. Where they were like, because the first Destiny, it was supposed to be like this long single game that you went back to over time. I think it was supposed to be like a WoW type of deal where you were just playing Destiny for years and years and years. But there was not, I think, like a Destiny 2 makes almost,
I don't think they could do that for certain reasons. I think there were some limitations.
Right,
like,
which is kind of on them, right? Because it was like
PC,
engine limitations.
Well, it not being on PC, maybe some engine limitations. And if then it came to PC, people wouldn't be able to migrate their accounts from certain other consoles.
I just think that maybe they're not they're not epic. They're not like epic with Fortnite where they are snapping their fingers and responding to everything, and they're like rapid fire addressing people's issues and updating stuff.
Epic caught lightning in a bottle, and everybody's saying how great Epic is now. I mean, Epic shut down one of their last games because they just couldn't do it right. Like they ended up having to shut their last game down with Paragon because they just fucked it up so royally. They couldn't get that
right, sure, but I'm just saying, like, with Fortnite, they have been so incredibly responsive. Where I don't think that Bungie
if it's making you that much money, you can be that responsive. I don't.
Well, sure.
I don't praise Epic quite as much. I feel like they had this game. They had this tower defense game that they were making, which is what Fortnite originally was. Save the World is what Fortnite was. I was in the alpha for it like 4 years ago, and then like H1Z1 started with like its battle royale, and then right when that started, they started developing something. And about the time that PUBG got big, that came out, and they just caught lightning in a bottle.
I'm not saying that like their situation doesn't allow them to do this. I'm saying the difference is that they're not out there just saying, "Oh yeah, we're listening," which a lot of companies do, like Sony is currently doing with this crossplay stuff. They're just saying, "We're listening." They're not solving any problems.
I mean, they're not lying.
Whereas Epic is listening. They're making the changes that the community wants. They're constantly engaged with the community. They're just
doing that because the community is constantly giving them money. Like, I don't want to sing their praises because they just had a game. They just had a game fail because they didn't listen to the community. Like, I don't know. Like, Paragon died because they didn't listen to the community. No, it's just Epic has one game. It's the most successful game in the world right now. But they only have one game. I don't want to praise how awesome they are when I don't want to look past their past failures.
I don't know, man. I think they're doing it all right now. All right. People are free to agree and disagree. If we were here agreeing all the time, this would be pretty freaking boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, let's move off of this. Obviously, we're not getting anywhere else. Have you been playing No Man's Sky?
Nope.
on GOG.
What? No.
What?
No.
Okay, so a kind of strange thing came out where the No Man's Sky Next update, all like the multiplayer integration to that only came to Steam on PC rather than across the board.
Yeah.
And so anyone playing on GOG, GOG, Good Old Games, whatever you want to call it, actually didn't get that functionality. And I mean, it's quote unquote coming later. But isn't that kind of wild?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird that it just came to one platform. I don't know why you would choose to do that, but I guess now they're offering extended refunds for those that bought it on GOG.com because they aren't getting what was advertised.
Yeah, and I think the kicker to the story is that
full
it's
refund
actually
for anyone who's ever bought it on there.
And it's actually GOG that's offering the refund. This isn't Hello Games offering the refund. This is GOG actually eating this cost. Which is super wild. I mean, like, that's really awesome. It kind of maybe trying to like shy away from the other controversy that GOG is currently engaged in, but
I don't know what that is, but
they may or may not have shared a pro Gamergate tweet, which had some, I mean, rightfully had some people kind of upset. So if you want to look into that, look into that. We're not going to beat that horse.
Okay.
But I just think this is kind of an awesome, it's wild. I assume that No Man's Sky probably uses some sort of like Steam integration maybe for their multiplayer or something, so it didn't allow them to update the GOG version of this game in the same time frame. But it's really wild that they would go ahead and kind of pull this money out of their own pocket for a make good for their customers. It's pretty cool to see.
It's interesting.
Interesting?
Yeah, it's just wondering why.
Like, why are they trying to do the make good for their customers?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a good faith move, I guess. Like, kind of keep people excited about that platform.
I don't know
make
anybody,
people not regret
I don't know
buying
anybody that
stuff
uses
there.
the platform even, so maybe I guess this is try to get the name. Maybe this will get their name out there.
I don't think they really need to get their name out there. They're reasonably ubiquitous. They're pretty famous for offering all their games DRM free on the service.
Never heard of them.
They're owned by CD Projekt.
Nope, never heard of them.
Nope. Okay, cool. All right. Well, then it sounds like we should move on to another game you may have never heard of.
Yes, actually.
Unfortunately, might not hear much else from.
Okay.
So, the developer of the new game Onrush has suffered substantial layoffs because the game kind of just failed to get enough traction to make them the money that they were hoping for.
Onrush, you say, huh?
Onrush, yes. You do not know of this game?
I don't. I mean, I've looked at, like, when we were discussing it, like, what to talk about this episode, I looked it up. Seems like critics really liked it, but I guess it just never caught on with the peoples.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty neat concept. It's a racing game, but not really. Like, you're kind of doing laps around the course and trying to take out the other racers, but it's not necessarily like a demolition derby style.
So it's like a speed racer race.
Sure, yeah, kind of.
I mean, there's at the end of the speed racer races, he was pretty much the only car left, because like every other car had blown up.
Yeah, and it has like creeps almost. It has like, like lower tiered AI controlled vehicles. And then you've got like the player characters that you're racing alongside. It was a really interesting idea. It was a very fresh take on that genre. But unfortunately, and I'm reasonably, I'm relieved that I kind of don't work in this industry because it's such a volatile profession. Like, you work on something for years and years and years, it doesn't hit the public like you want it to, and then you're up in smoke. I mean, we saw that just happen with an entire studio in Bosque.
Yep. Starving artists, man. Starving artists.
That's just brutal.
It's the risk.
I don't know.
It's a risk of the profession, I guess.
Maybe that's kind of like why so people are kind of afraid to fight back at all the crunch and all the insanity surrounding the work conditions and environment, because it's just, that this is this could kind of go up at any point and disappear.
Yeah, like you can be super successful like Cliffy B was. And, Cliff Bleszinski pioneered the Gears of War games and then went out, opened his own studio, and they just shut down, didn't they?
Yeah, that was Bosque. So they just couldn't. They made as you said, kind of like a critically accepted as like a good game, even though most of the critical response to that game was it's good, but who's it for? Like, it's good, but where's the audience, right?
Yeah.
And that was kind of the death of it. It just didn't have the audience.
That's the problem, yeah.
All right. Speaking of audiences.
Ooh. I'm intrigued.
Did you watch the grand finals of the Overwatch League?
I did not.
All right. How would you feel if I told you that the London Spitfire won the Overwatch League?
You would be correct in saying that. That's how that makes me feel.
Yes, yeah, you are very correct in that sentence. Philadelphia actually got second place, which, disappointing for yours truly.
Yeah. Comcast.
Yeah,
Comcast. Boo.
Got to see all the big Philly Overwatch team billboards, which still is like a little wild to me. That's kind of leaking out. Oh, I mentioned before on the show that I was really excited to see all the people like tweeting at ESPN, all like the crotchety people.
Oh,
They're like,
did that happen?
My God. Yeah, it did. And literally the top reply to the tweet that I saw was, quote unquote, not a sport. Just, that's it. All lowercase, not a sport. I was like, it happened instantaneously on this. And then, of course, people start arguing and whatever.
Yep.
It's just so wild. I did very much enjoy reading that
thread.
It's the
internet, man, where you can let all your opinions out and be a shitty person and there's no consequences.
Yeah, more or less.
You can
that
say
is
whatever
kind
you
of
want
the
with
world
no
we're
consequences. Well, not entirely, but, mostly.
Well, yeah, sure. There are exceptions to every rule.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on. I mean, I guess there's not much else to say about the Overwatch League.
Congrats to London. I will be intrigued to see what they do with Season 2. If they do like a minor league or something to try to switch up, like try to get more people, like, what am I trying to say? Like a farm system, try to get more players into it. We'll see.
Yeah,
or
I
if
would
there are
kind of like to
expansion
see
teams,
it open up a little.
Like if it grows at all, I think that'll be interesting to see as well.
I would be interested, especially since it costs so much money to actually be a franchise in that league.
Yeah.
I would be a little surprised if like there were any substantial amount of teams added.
Are there one question for you, just as someone that doesn't really looked into it very much, and I know you, since you have a team in your city, you're a little more invested in it than I am. Are there like traditional gaming organizations attached to those as well, like your OMGs, your Cloud9s, like as sponsors, or no?
No, not really. Like, I guess you could technically have like the owners of those esports organizations also buy in, but I think mostly you're talking like you said, Comcast. I think some of them are like really rich sports moguls and things like that. I mean, it's such a huge buy-in. It's not really in that same... This was kind of what was supposed to be the differentiator with the Overwatch League, was that it was not those traditional esports organizations, it was city-based. It's supposed to be more like
See, I was wondering if it would be
baseball and everything.
Like, what is it? Like soccer. How the soccer players, like Manchester United, for example, they have their jerseys. They're Manchester United, but on the front they've got the Chevy symbol. You know what I mean?
Okay, as far as I know, it is not like that. The
actual team is also sponsored, like sponsors the uniforms or something. I'd be curious to see if something like that gets implemented.
As far as I know, it is like a single owner. I've not seen any sort of advertising on their jerseys. So, I don't believe it is like that. It's a pretty crazy thing, especially since, yes, there is a Philly team here, but you really feel like detached, I guess, when none of like the players are from the area. I don't know. Like, I guess as someone that is not regularly following American football or whatever, like, does it matter that none of the people are from or have attachments to the area?
This is me not looking up on like the. So how do they present? Do you know how they present like the live games? Like, is it like your team in Philly? Like, are there home and away games? Like, do you know how it's done?
It's all done in a single. Well, other than perhaps the finals, it's all done in a single stadium over in Los Angeles, I believe.
Okay. See, I think it would be extremely interesting if it was like Philadelphia had like an arena. And like,
that would be really cool.
Like, they would have home games where the Philadelphia team played, say, the London team in Philadelphia. That would make it feel more like a regular sport and let people in cities become more attached to their teams. Being able to go watch them live, per se, you know what I mean? Rather than seeing a rebroadcast.
I guess that's a good point.
From Los Angeles, like you said.
Yeah, like live in person.
Yeah.
That is, I guess, the big differentiator here is that because there is no live in person here, maybe that's why I feel detached. Like, they are Philadelphia in name only.
Yeah.
They don't have this as their home playing field because the playing field is just Los Angeles. I think it's Los Angeles. Whatever. But I understand the money and logistics and everything. Like, you would have to start flying these people around everywhere. You'd have to have a stadium in every location.
Yeah.
I get it.
Maybe if it gets bigger.
Yeah, sure. That's kind of what I'm curious to see in the long run. Because this is one of the harder pushes we've ever really seen in North America.
Yeah.
So I will be excited, or at least curious to see how it goes.
Yeah.
So how do you feel? We talked about the Rainbow Six Siege cheating ban prior. So
no, it wasn't a cheating
that was
ban.
actually the Rainbow. That was the Six Siege profanity ban. So this is actually kind of another. They're really like cracking down on
Ubisoft,
everybody,
man.
right?
Ubisoft doing all the right things, man. Anybody that has been caught cheating will have their. They'll get 15-day bans, and people are like kind of upset that the 15-day bans of 1,300 players who had cheated.
Right, yeah, which is a pretty decent amount.
Yeah, people was like, 15-day ban's not enough for cheating. But they also will have all rank and all rewards ever gained wiped out.
Yeah, so these are people specifically banned for boosting, correct?
Yeah, their matchmaking will be reset, everything.
I honestly, this is just keep at them, Ubisoft. Just keep doing it. Just keep expanding the punishments. Let's do what we have to do to get people to realize that maybe playing on the same level playing field as everybody else is actually enjoyable for 99% of the base.
Yeah. It's a good step.
I'm all for this.
That's another good step that Ubisoft has taken with Rainbow Six Siege. They're doing all the right things.
I completely agree. I'm excited for this. So, we'll see if... I'm actually kind of curious to see if this affects the overall amount of people playing the game. Because I know personally for me, so a game, Dark Souls Remastered just came out not long ago.
Yeah.
And I've heard all of the horror stories about the nonsense hacking that goes on in PC where people can strip your soul level or get your account banned if they drop you like a modded item and all of this stuff. So I actually played that game on the PlayStation 4 because of that. Like, as it is perhaps I'm sure there's cheating there and everything too, but it was like a safer place to play the game.
Yeah.
So I would like to see if maybe they're really touting Rainbow Six as a place where you're not going to get all this crazy bigotry, where the playing field is reasonably level and anybody caught cheating is punished severely. Like, maybe that draws more people in. They're like more willing to give it a shot.
It's just how games should be, man. It's just how games should be.
Yeah, sure.
Unless
I
be a game.
Agree.
Unless you're playing a game of who can be the cheatiest. And you can't play that, Roybot. Because that's not a game.
Alright, so I know that you are all about this next topic,
Speaking
so you want to take it real quick?
things that are good for business and doing the right things.
Yes.
EA is considering crossplay for Battlefield 5. For their Battle Royale mode and for everything. They want people to be able to play together. And not just on Battlefield 5. I've also read they're looking at implementing it in their sports games as well. So Madden, FIFA. EA has basically most of the biggest sports games. Which, so EA is trying to, help the community because they've had kind of a bad face in the community from what I've seen.
They
So
yes,
EA
don't have the
needs
best
some
rep.
good press. And this could just be EA jumping on a bandwagon trying to, dig at Sony and getting some good press while at it. They're saying they're working on crossplay, but a major hurdle right now is Sony. Because Nintendo and Microsoft and Valve are all on board, as they've always been.
Yeah, we're kind of beating the drum here a little bit.
Another company coming out and saying, Sony, hey, we can't do this because Sony's the one doing this. I think it's a case of I think it's twofold. It's a case of developers trying to change something by putting it out in public opinion, and in EA's case, I think it's them trying to hey, we're not the bad guy for once.
Yeah, I think they have kind of been doing that a little bit ever since the whole Battlefront 2 shenanigans.
Yeah. But I think it's a good thing that people are consistently saying, we want to do this, Sony's the reason, voice your opinion about it, so that maybe Sony will change something.
Yeah, this is like the video games version of call your congressman. Like, let's just keep the pressure on.
Hopefully
it breaks eventually.
If it stays in the news, like, Fortnite was the big... Sony's been doing this forever, and Fortnite was the big thing that, like, hey... What's Sony doing here? It's a time a lot of people heard about it. And now companies keep coming out and saying, hey, Sony's the one doing this. It's not us. So I think there's mounting pressure on Sony to give in. I was trying to think of a different word, but to give in and like just let it happen. And we'll see if this keeps happening, if there's any sort of backlash for Sony. I think if the gaming community keeps doing this, I think eventually Sony will have to relent.
I personally don't think that the backlash will be substantial, although I do hope they change.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We've got just a couple more pieces of news. So the second Jump Force trailer has been shown.
Yep.
And when you first added this to our show notes, I noticed that you wrote down Shinigami, and I very much expected Death Note rather than Bleach.
Yeah,
but,
true.
So it does go through some of the characters from Bleach. Are you excited at all for this game?
I actually am, because like I've always liked fighting games. I haven't necessarily been very good at them. And I've enjoyed getting like into the lore. Like, so games that have always sucked me in are like Marvel vs. Capcom. Where I can play some of the Street Fighter people that I like, but I can play the characters that I love in Marvel. Like, I can be Wesker and Dante and, just come in with people I like to be and just goof around and be awesome. This is good. This looks super fun to me so far. Hopefully it plays, but like, this is one of the few things that I'm like, super hyped about because I love all these jump anime except for I don't like One Piece because it's just too long and I don't want to get into it now. It's too many episodes. But like as someone who's been watching Naruto since like 2004, someone who watched all of Bleach and regularly read some of the manga, someone who watched all of Death Note, I'm excited. Like, and someone who's been watching Dragon Ball Z as I'm 32. I've been watching Dragon Ball Z since I was like 5. Like,
right, yeah.
So this is like just really like something I'm super excited about because it's all my favorite characters, and I just hope it plays well.
Well, we've seen the success of Dragon Ball Fighters, and I think a lot of that was on the back.
Oh, no, it is Dragon Ball Fighters. That's the dumbest name. It's Dragon Ball Fighters, Z. I don't care.
It's Dragon Ball Fighters.
I don't care what the company says. Namkai Bandai.
Right.
It's back. Yeah.
But this allows them to be out of, like, the Z arc, man.
It'll be really interesting. I'm excited.
But that we have seen success with Dragon Ball Fighters. I think Dragon Ball is actually a pretty strong brand right now.
Yeah. The
thing, I feel like I should be excited for Jump Force, but some of the decisions around it, the aesthetics of this game are just wild. Why didn't they? I really wish they would have went the same direction that Dragon Ball Fighters went, because we're at this point where you can make these gaming worlds look so true to the shows. That would have been really cool to see, but instead we get this like weird realism 3D like
I see what you're
uncanny
saying.
valley.
Like we could have had like a level that was like the Cell Games arena in like Dragon Ball, and then we could have had like the real world from Death Note, or we could have had like I don't know, Soul Society from Bleach. Is that what you're saying? But instead we just have this generic like cityscape.
Oh no, that's pretty fair. But what I'm saying is like they could have actually chosen a more anime aesthetic to it. Like they could have made it look like the actual show of Dragon Ball, just like they did with Dragon Ball Fighters.
Well, I think there's so many different like art styles. They didn't want to do that. They kind of wanted to bring them all into like the same plane. You know what I mean?
Right, and I think that decision is kind of just like a little polarizing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it works. Because if it, I could see where what you're saying would maybe have worked, but they would have definitely had to have done it right, and it might have clashed. Yeah, it might not have worked well.
We'll see how this turns out, but I'm kind of, as a person that's never really been a fan of like that 3D space fighting, I think that I will kind of keep an eye on it from outside.
Dude, I just
so
can't.
maybe it's our game of the week someday, and it can be you going through all of that.
I can't wait
That's
to
fine.
go Bankai and just shit on people.
All right,
it's gonna be
that's
great.
fine. All right, our last news story of the week.
Yes.
HTC actually felt the need to respond to a lot of like these quote-unquote death of VR rumors. Just there were a ton of people out there saying that the sales, and it was based so thin, like it was such a thin basis that people were leaning on, but saying like the numbers of Vives being sold is way down, it's dropping off the sales charts, the VR is obviously not ready for our current prime time, and it's dying. So HTC actually felt the need to come out and be like, actually, it's pretty much like the best we've ever been selling. The reason that particular unit was dropping off the charts is because we sold out of it, and then we were selling like another SKU in its stead. So what do you think of that? Like, do you think that people love to decry like the death of X? So people will say death of Nintendo, like Nintendo's doomed every other couple days, right? Every time Nintendo's stock drops by a fraction of a percent, everyone's out there with the doomsday clock. Do you think people are just like on that train? They love to talk about things failing. They want to be right about the thing failing. Are you surprised to see that it's selling so well?
No, I mean VR is going to sell at a certain point for a while. As 3D sold, like, still sells for a certain, there are always going to be people who don't get something, like, or I'm happy about VR. I currently don't own any VR. I'm looking at getting into it. It's kind of cost prohibitive right now. I mean, it's expensive. But, like, I mean, it is selling. People have it. Gamers who are our age are the ones who are tending to get it from what I've seen. I know, 4 people that have VR setups in my in my close friends group of 6, including me. So, I see it has a high install rate. I know people that have sold their VR multiple times and upgraded, like you.
Sure, yeah.
You've had an Oculus, a Vive. Are you going to get a Vive Pro?
I do not believe I am. I think that the Vive Pro is more for kind of like a commercial use rather than an in-home use with the advantages and disadvantages.
Okay. Well, it's just, I don't know. People like to shit on things they don't understand. And, like, there are people out there who feel good by putting other things down. And that's just what this is. I mean, VR's cool. There are some games which look really cool that I like to play, like Beat Saber. Beat Saber looks awesome.
Yes, I've been playing that, and it is absolutely fantastic. Wish it had more songs. Wish it was a little bit more customizable, but, man, amazing game.
Things like Bridge Crew, which I really want to pick up at some point, because there's going to be some DLC coming for that as well, which we should have thrown out there. You're going to get the next generation characters in Bridge Crew, so you're going to get, like, Picard and Worf. Should be pretty cool. Always cool when you could be Patrick Stewart in a game.
So for you, would you say that the cost is actually why you're not investing? Because you absolutely have the hardware to run VR.
Oh, yeah. I've got a ridiculous computer. I've got the setup. I can run pretty much anything I want to at max settings. So I could easily, do it. But right now it's the cost, yeah.
So it's just the cost.
Pretty much that, and, like, aside from Beat Saber, I don't see and maybe Bridge Crew, there's not a whole lot of, the software is not there yet. And there's some games out there that I think would be interesting to play with it as well, like Resident Evil 7, I think, has some VR.
Yes, exclusive to the PlayStation.
Oh, is it exclusive to PlayStation? Okay.
Yes.
I did not know that. But there's some things out there. But the main reason I would say is cost, and nothing has really tickled my fancy enough to want to just go out and splurge. Like, back in the day, I wasn't a big fan of Halo. When the Xbox first came out, FPSs weren't really my thing, because I'd only played FPSs on the PlayStation, and I hated the controller, and I had only played them on the N64, and that was terrible.
Oh, sure, yeah. That controller.
It wasn't until Knights of the Old Republic came out that I went out and got an Xbox, and then I discovered Halo and got into a thing. And I think it's going to take something like that for me to get into VR.
It is definitely a format that is better experienced than watched.
And like,
it is very hard to convey that. Like,
I've gone over to your house and I've played things like Super Hot, and Super Hot was awesome. I love Super Hot. It was great.
Agreed.
And Beat Saber is like one of those ones that's like really brought me to the line of like, maybe. But then I always just forget about it, and I'm like, I'm an adult. There's other things I can spend my money on right now. I don't make that much money. So like, I have other things to spend my money on right now. Maybe when I get to a point where I have, $800-900 just laying around. Because if I install, I'm probably going to go with like a Pro. Just because I'm that guy. I like to think my things to be a little more future-proof. And I like with my computer, I like to spend money to try to get the best. So I'm thinking it'll take something like that for me to get into it.
It is kind of a hell of an introductory price if you're jumping straight to the pro.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that does that though. I don't like to get things that I may have to replace at some point. I like to try it. Hence why I spent the money I did on my computer, because I like to try and keep it as long as possible without having to upgrade.
All right, well, it'll be interesting to see when you do get in, and hopefully we can kind of come back and revisit that when you do decide to jump in.
Yeah.
All right, so if you've got no other news for the week, I think it's about time that we jump into the game of the week, and I'm going to give that over to you.
All right, everyone. I would like to welcome you to Wet Bridges Game of the Week, brought to you by Great Value Water, where we value quantity over quality. All right.
Because great value water is...
Yeah. So good, man.
Sure.
40 for $3, man. Quantity over quality.
I agree with that.
All right. So, my game of the week this week is Warframe. It's been out for quite some time, with 10Con happening a few weeks ago. A few of my favorite streamers have gone back into the game and kind of picked it up. When I first looked at Warframe years ago, Warframe's been on PC since 2013. When I first looked at Warframe years ago, I didn't really get a good idea of what it was. I thought it was just this multiplayer, like, ninja game where you just, like, played, like an arena game where it was, like, versus multiplayer. So I kind of just wrote it off and then went away from it. And then recently I've heard people, I think we even mentioned this in one of our last podcasts, I've heard people mentioning that it's what Destiny should have been. And since
so that's kind of my question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Why is it?
Tell me about Warframe in a way that explains that to me.
Okay. Well, the thing about Warframe that like really sits with me is like what things Destiny should have maybe done. It's real easy to drop in and out. I like the storytelling feels more. It works. Like, your character doesn't talk, but it's not a stupid ghost just sitting next to you, doing whatever, you know what I mean?
It's not like the weird, awkward back and forth where it seems like your character should totally be talking in the situation and just isn't for some stupid reason.
It hasn't felt like that to me yet. And I've only spent about 10 hours with the game. Just looking at it, I mean, I know it's been out longer, but the number of planets, like, there's a lot of freaking planets. I would venture a guess that it's at least 20. Like, I opened up the map. I'm only on the first 2. There's different mission sections. It's just, your character is completely customizable. You're not set into any one ability group or weapon set. You can change it all on the fly. All of your mods carry over between each weapon set. It's just, there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do. The storytelling seems better. The movement is just so fluid. Like, I played a mission the other day, and I hopped into it with multiplayer. I've been playing it solo right now, because if you play with multiplayer on the low levels, you're literally going to experience nothing of the game, because it pairs high level and low level people up, because they're doing, like, their daily missions or whatever. And a guy will just run through and destroy the whole mission, and you'll be like, what just happened?
Sure.
So that happened to me. This dude just starts off, he jumps, dives through the air spinning, hits the ground, slides, and then does that again, and he's just gone. And I'm running on the ground like, what is this dude doing? I have no idea what's happening. And then, like, a few missions later, when I find out how to do that, I'm just doing that and flying all over the fucking place, and it's awesome. And it just feels so natural. It's like the weapons feel good. I only have a few unlocked. I'm using a bow on my main guy, which is...
So the variety, like, the different weapons do actually feel really different to wield?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I like to play most... And you can go into the missions, like, I go into most of the missions stealthy. Like, there's different types of missions. Like, you go in for, like a capture where you have to capture someone, or you go into, like, a assassination where you have to kill someone. And I'll go into those missions stealthy. And, like, the bow is a silent weapon, and I use kunai and a bow, which are all, and like a dai bow, like a staff.
Okay.
So I use that, and it's all quiet, and I'll just roll through, like, assassinating people, killing people, and get through the end of a mission just fine. And then there's, like, defense missions where you have to, like, defend a point. And for those, I'll drop in with a different Warframe. So, I'll like, a different armor set completely with different skills. And then I'll hop in with, like, an assault rifle, a pistol, and I'll still use my same melee weapon, because most of the melee weapons are pretty much the same from what I see. But I can't actually access any other melee weapons. There's swords and all kinds of shit, which is really cool. The variety is amazing. The game's been out forever, so there's a lot of variety.
So you're saying, like, I guess the things that it's doing... So it's kind of doing the Destiny thing, but you're just saying, like, the variety is just, like, leagues ahead. It feels kind of, like, so much better, things to do. Like, the progression path, I guess, is just... Because, I mean, I will agree that a lot of people kind of would say once they hit a pretty, a decent chunk of time, maybe like 30 hours or whatever with Destiny, you kind of run out of stuff to do.
And it does seem like a game that would be a lot better with friends. But it's a lot of fun by yourself as well. The only thing I'd say is, like, I wish I had someone that, like, knew how to play the game telling me what to do. I don't say this often, but the tutorial of the game was lacking. Like, too many games hold your hand. Like, I have my ship, but I don't have all the stuff installed on my ship, so, like, there's features that aren't available to me yet. And I know it seems like there is a grind, kind of, to get into it fully, and I definitely wouldn't want to play PvP right now, because I know I'd get just, like, smacked all over the place, because, like, I'm not in full, like, it feels fluid, and the movement feels good, but I'm pretty sure I will get dominated.
Okay.
Because I'm not exactly sure what's happening most of the time, you know what I mean?
Is the mission structure, like, reasonably varied, or are you kind of doing, like, the go here, kill a guy, defend a thing that Destiny kind of offers up
it's
countless times?
It's kind of like that, but it's like, it's I've seen, like, the same mission, like, you're going to kill a different guy, but, like, the way you traverse through the level is different, and you may be on the same level, but you don't necessarily see the same points of it. It doesn't feel like Destiny to me. Like, I haven't gotten that, ugh, this place again, or, oh man, this mission again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose simply by, like, the fact that you've said you can kind of approach things with stealth. You could be, like, guns a-blazing. You could be, like, wall run guy taking different paths throughout the level.
Oh, yeah, there's literally...
Would do a lot, yeah.
There's literally times where I killed the guy I was supposed to kill, and then I just ran through, not killing another enemy the rest of the level to get to the extraction point. Just, like, dodging and jumping around and weaving, which is pretty cool. So if you, like... But I felt like if I were with bros, I would have taken it slower and killed shit and been, like, crazy. And I feel like my stealth approach probably would not have worked with friends as well either.
Yeah, but it still sounds like you kind of are offered more variety to, like, approach any one situation.
Yeah. The variety is more in how you play it than how that it's presented. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah, because, I mean, Destiny is really, like, you don't have the stealth option. You don't have, like, the alternate path option all that often.
Yeah.
So the reason it kind of feels samey throughout is, like, well, there's one way to do this. There's one way to go about it.
Yeah. It's an interesting game. I really like it so far. It's the microtransactions are, of course, a big part of it. But I think you can get everything in game through grinding. I don't think anything is exclusively pay for, so it's not necessarily pay to win, but it's like paid for, like, an advantage, I guess you would say.
So, like, if we both started tomorrow fresh, and you said I'm gonna spend $500, and I said I'm gonna spend $0, then you would be well ahead of me?
I would say I would have an advantage. I don't know how well ahead of you would be. I would have access to more Warframes, so I would have different skills and abilities. I don't necessarily know which ones are the best right now. I do think they do try to do a good job of balancing that. I think where the advantage would come would be in weapons and stuff, but you still have to grind a certain amount to be able to unlock the weapons. So you have to have a certain skill proficiency, I think, in like mastery level overall, which I'm not sure how you get. Like I said, the game doesn't really tell you a whole lot about what you're supposed to do. It's just like, here's this world, go have fun. You know what I mean? Like there's a linear mission system to start off with, and I'm sure there'll be another point where more linear missions pop up. At least I think. But yeah, you still have to grind. It's like a Battlefield thing, like where you have to be a certain level to use certain equipment. And then with this, you have to be that level, and then you also have to purchase it with the in-game currency, which is platinum.
So, I guess in the end, the question really is, like, would you, for the people out there that are maybe a little sick of Destiny 2 and haven't really dabbled into Warframe yet, would you give this the seal of approval to kind of switch over?
It's free to play. I mean, give it a try. Like, that's the best thing about it. Like, free to play games are that's how they get you. Like they come in, they're free to play. So if it's free to play, you might as well give it a shot. I like it. It's a lot. I've spent less money on it than I spent on Destiny because I've spent a decent amount of money on Destiny. Why? I don't know. I'm an idiot. But like, I had fun with Destiny while I was playing it. Playing it like just feels so good. Like, everything just feels really intuitive. Like, it's cool rolling through a mission and just headshotting people with a bow, and just like watching them, like watch a dude walk up. Just you have to lead your shots too, so it's not hit scan. So like just that perfect feeling when it hits someone right in the face, and like it just pins them to a wall, and you're just sitting there like, yeah. So I would recommend it. It's a lot. I had a lot of fun in my time with it. I'm going to keep playing it. I'm gonna get that grind. You know, as an old school World of Warcraft player, I really don't mind a grind too much. I'm used to grinding for hours just to be able to do something. So I really enjoyed it. I think it's, when people say it's what Destiny should have been, it feels pretty accurate. If Destiny had like this amount of, because Destiny came out, what year did Destiny first come out?
The first one?
Yeah.
2014 maybe?
So that's
No, wait. Yeah, maybe. I'm not really sure. It was, soon after
2014. So it was
soon after the next gen.
It was about the same time that Warframe got its actual release. So the world of Destiny and the world of Warframe are about the same. They have about the same time. And Warframe feels like what Destiny 1 should have been. It's this continuing game that's been going on for 4 or 5 years, and it just has all this content. And it just feels, when you think, the more I think about it, the more I feel like it is what Destiny should have been.
All right, so to conclude, this is my request from you.
Yeah.
To conclude our game of the week this week, describe Warframe in 4.5 words. Go.
4.5 words. Warframe.
Yes.
Is
sure
good.
Nope. You're too many. Oh no, wait, you're right. 4. That's 4. Oh, okay, great.
That's my
cool,
half word.
Awesome, fantastic. That's all. It's a little less. It was a little more straightforward than I was hoping, but
you were hoping for me to be done at 4 words and then just come out with a half word. It didn't matter.
No, it was perfect. I just didn't realize that you could have just went with Warframe is a good game.
Yeah.
Anyway. But no, yeah, like, thanks for sharing your thoughts on that. It does sound like we talked about earlier, like what Destiny originally kind of promised to be was that ongoing game, and it sounds like that it's maybe doing that pretty right.
Let me know if you decide to play it, Phil. Let me know. Maybe we can have you come back with some of your thoughts and see if some of my promises were full or empty.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Also, this is going to be our format for the game of the week going forward, unless you guys hate it. where one of us picks a game and plays it, and then the other person kind of is in your shoes, where you guys don't know much about the game maybe, and they just kind of ask questions and kind of help us get a feel for the game.
Yeah, listen, be interested, ask the questions that hopefully everybody listening might be asking themselves as well.
So next week, Phil's going to have the game of the week. I don't know if he knows what it is yet. He may not. But
no spoilers.
No spoilers. That's a good way for saying he doesn't know what it is.
Maybe. You're on to me. No.
Is it going to be Dwayne Johnson's Salty Time Taffy store?
It sure won't be. That's a promise.
All right. I just figured I'd throw my weekly rock mention out.
All right, guys. So thanks for tuning in. As always, get to us on Twitter at FOB Podcast. And if you want to send us an email, we are frickinlaserbeamspodcast@gmail.com. God damn, is that a long email address? We need to do something about it.
It is pretty long. And to switch things up this week, why don't you send us out, Phil?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I feel like I'm completely unprepared for this.
I feel like you are as well.
Turn off the podcast!